Good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning. It's the 28th. It's the last day of February. Can you believe it? You snap your fingers and Friday is gone. February is gone. Oh, my Lord. Time flies when you're having a good time. Except if you're on the wrong end of Doge. Yeah. Oh, boy. Let's turn down Epidemic just a little tiny bit. Can't hear myself think. Yeah, oh, maybe even a little more. There we go. That's good. Yeah. Well, Doge, I just sent a text message to my, I don't know, I guess you call it a former son-in-law? Oh, the heck with it. We're just going to call him son-in-law. He's my favorite son-in-law of all times. And what happens? They get divorced. Jeez. What kind of crap is that? Oh, well. I got lucky. Marilyn has been hanging in there with old Jimmy for 45 years. Would you believe it? Yep. February 22nd at 8:45 p.m. That's when I met Marilyn as a personal person. You know, an individual person, not just knowing her from a distance as she was an employee of the company that I'm an employee of, was back then. And we crossed the line of the harassment suits and all this stuff. I remember thinking just a second, believe me, it was 1.5 seconds because Marilyn is so outstanding. Yeah, very, very lucky person. We were like hit it off immediately. It was immediate. So we chatted on Friday night from 8:45 until 11:45, 8, 9, 10, 11, 3 hours. Woo! We were yakking away like crazy. And I said, how about we have lunch on Monday? We'll let the weekend go by. You're doing things, I'm doing things. We're both, finishing up our divorces. And, like Magnus, oh my God. The last thing I wanted was another relationship. Well, forget that idea. We were like, two peas in a pod. Boy. Anyway, I remember that like it was last week. And it was 45 years ago. Woo! Holy mackerel. Yeah, it's amazing. Yep, there's my cup of tea and my Halloweeny 20-ounce what do you call these? Stainless steel double-walled vacuum. It keeps my tea nice and warm. Even though I made it at 8 o'clock this morning. And here it's 9:22, and it's perfectly warmed. Yeah, I take my tea with an ounce an ounce of half and half, and one teaspoon of sugar, which doesn't make my cardiologist happy, but tough tooties. Now I keep my blood sugar under 200. Yeah, it's going up right as we speak. I don't have the what do you call it thing in my arm, but I know what I've been tracking my blood sugar for so long. I know exactly what I can do and what I can't do. To keep it. It'll peak at 210, something like that, and then it'll go right back down. At 11 o'clock, it'll be down to 120. Anywhere between 100 or 80 and 120 is like fine. It's perfect. It's like a normal person. Yeah, Ozempic is really quite good. It really flattens out, your blood sugar business. I haven't used one drop of insulin since I started with Ozempic. That's how outstanding it is. Yeah. Looking. Yeah, it's Friday the 28th. I did a little screenshot. See there, and then I cropped this guy, and that's how I get him. Every day I do that, because that's the opening tag of our broadcasts. It's you got February, you got 28, it's in red, black, and white. Yeah, with the rounded edges. I mean, it's like perfect against the background of my screen background, whatever you want to call that. It's like an X-ray view of a computer board, which you can, And here's the heartbreaking fired USAID employees speak out after gathering their belongings. They had 15. Let's turn this on. 15 minutes to gather up your personal belongings and then get the hell out. I don't know what kind of package they get. I figured, I don't know. If they accepted the package when it was offered, and if they got the letters, I'm sure they did, and then they took the package. And the people that didn't take the package, they're fired. There's someone, news person, getting ready to interview this young lady in the white shirt with a cream white top. Yeah, she doesn't look very happy. And this is oh boy, this is very interesting. We're hearing all kinds. I mean, it's sad because Gene Hackman and his wife, he was 95. Can you imagine? I don't know when this picture was captured. She's like 20 years younger than he is. 90, I guess when you're 95, everyone's 20 years younger than you. Yeah. It's crazy when you start getting older, this friend dies, that friend dies. I say, holy crap. What's going on here, Lordy. Yeah. So, anyway, so they found being a little bit of a scientist, actually, I'm not a little bit of a scientist, I was trained as a scientist, a biochemist, actually. Yes, oh boy, pre-med school, oh, geez. I don't know why I didn't go. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, my girlfriend didn't want me to go. Yeah. Ricky. Her name was Ricky. R-I-K-K. Oh boy. She caused me to pass up on 2 medical school scholarships. Ugh, God. My father's a doctor and and I didn't know who he was. And if you're going to do this, and a little threatening little conversation. So, being the... so that was the end of that. And then 10 months later, she dumps me. Yeah. She went to Case Western Reserve and, fell for some other fellow. I don't damn the other fellow because, Ricky was a decent young lady, attractive young lady. Not like Marilyn. Marilyn, oh God, stunning is just a part of the vocabulary of words. When she walks in the room, everyone looks up. She's a head turner. Holy mackerel. They guess her age, and it's 15 years younger than she actually is. My whole lifetime with her, which is basically my whole lifetime, period. We walk in a room together, and they're all looking at her. Who is this? Who's that schmuck walking with her? Oh, yeah, that's Jimmy. Yeah, that's the way it was. Oh, my God. She's a head turner, that's for sure. Oh, gosh. Anyway, this Gene Hackman business, you're seeing a picture I have right there of Gene Hackman and his wife and dog found dead in home under suspicious circumstances. The media is all over that, the wife was like in a kitchen or something around, and she was, examining, getting ready to take some medicine, prescription pills of some kind. I think there's some kind of carbon monoxide thing going on, that killed them, killed the dog that was in a kennel thing in the house. 2 other dogs running around were not dead. So she collapsed. I'm making this stuff up. What do I know? Just the little pieces I've put together. Oh boy, look at that. So they found her collapsed, and pill bottles spilt, laying on the kitchen floor, and pills, on the countertop and on the floor, with her dead body collapsed in the kitchen. He collapsed somewhere else, not in the kitchen, in what they call the mud room, whatever the hell that is. I'm thinking like in New Mexico or someplace. And they have mud rooms. Is that like a sauna? I don't know. So the fact that they both, all three, all simultaneously, you wonder what it sounds like some kind of gas. Not the gas from their stupid stove. Gas company says, well, the gas line's fine. That's not the gas we're talking about. We're talking about a gas like, although that could, that would tend to blow up the house if they had a big gas leak. I don't think you'd die fast enough from the gas. You would get exploded. We're talking about something like carbon monoxide, because carbon monoxide is, it's odorless, it's transparent, a gas that if you leave your car running in the garage, or if you had a generator running in your garage, that carbon monoxide will seep, through the walls, up around the ceiling, the attic, and you just, if you're sleeping, you go to sleep, and you're a dead duck. You die. It's a sleepy dead. It's not a drastic death. What happens with carbon monoxide? Let me explain why carbon monoxide is a killer. It's because, carbon dioxide, for example, and oxygen. Oxygen makes up 20% of our atmosphere, okay? Nitrogen takes up 79% of our atmosphere, and then you have a few other novel gases that make 100%. But it's like 20, 79, not 80, 79, and, so you got 20% oxygen. Now, if there's carbon monoxide, if there's carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, you'd be choking. You'd choke, and you'd be running out the front door if you had an influx of carbon dioxide, because that is a vicious gas that causes you to gag and cough, and so forth. You get the picture there. Now, carbon monoxide, on the other hand, no gagging. The carbon monoxide, as you breathe it, the monoxide attaches itself to the red blood cell, and then that red blood cell is busy and doesn't have room for oxygen. So that red blood cell, let's just take it one by one. You got billions of red blood cells, but as your red blood cells is going through your system, okay, each red blood cell gets attached, because you're breathing in carbon monoxide and oxygen and nitrogen and yada yada. But as soon as your blood cells come in contact with carbon monoxide, the carbon monoxide attaches itself, as a gas, onto the red blood cells, one by one, by the hundreds of millions as they're passing through your lungs. And over a relatively short period of time, let's say 20 or 30 seconds, so much of your blood gets incapable of carrying oxygen to the rest of your organs. So, that's why it's a killer, because your red blood cells now, a whole bunch of them are not able to carry oxygen, which is found in the atmosphere along with the carbon monoxide and the nitrogen. But the monoxide, attaches itself to the red blood cells one by one, by the billions. And that makes the red blood cell incapable of carrying any other gas. because carbon monoxide, is such a large molecule. That's CO1 instead of CO2. CO1. But that the carbon monoxide molecule attaches itself to the red blood cell, and then that red blood cell is basically turned off to any other, oxygenation. So that red blood cell then is not capable of carrying oxygen to your organs. And essentially it carries carbon monoxide, but it doesn't detach itself from the red blood cell. It stays on the red blood cell and basically makes the red blood cell incapable of transmitting oxygen to your organs. And by the millions, these red blood cells, as they're floating around through your lungs, that are, saturated with carbon monoxide, your red blood cells, all of them or most of them become incapable of carrying oxygen to your organs, and your organs, start to die off rather quickly. Jeez. So, anyway, that's, it has to be something like that. But, there's some other, questionable things. We're talking about the Gene Hackman wife and dog, all found dead. No one was bruised. No one was beaten up. Hackman's a tough cookie. At 95, I don't care how old you are. If someone came after him, he'd start swinging. And he'd probably have some bruised knuckles. And then he'd have, some bruised head. So, they'd punch him in the stomach and punch him in the head, and he'd punch back and there'd be something, there'd be a tussle. He wouldn't be running under the bed. He'd face up whoever the hell's in there, or he'd get shot or whatever. No, there was no signs of any of that. Okay, they collapsed to wherever they were. If there was a seating area in the mud room, whatever that is, I don't know. It's a steam room or I don't know. A room made out of mud. A sauna, maybe. Anyway. So he was in the mud room, dead, and she was collapsed in the kitchen with a bunch of pills laying around on the floor. She was apparently trying to take some medicine, prescribed medicine, and she, collapsed, and she dropped the pill bottle. So that's why the pills are all over the floor. The media is like, oh, what could the pills be? And they're scattered all over. How could that happen? Well, she was holding it and she collapsed. And the pill bottle went on the floor, spilled on the floor. Come on. It can't be that. Oh, gosh. Anyway, so. But the front door. Now, we've heard several reports on the front door. It was open, it was ajar, maybe it was closed and unlocked. I don't know, it was open. Maybe someone didn't close the door quite all the way, and a little breeze came through and moved the door open. I'm just trying to make an explanation of why the front door wouldn't be closed. Sometimes when you close the door and you don't pull it just hard enough, it doesn't latch closed. And then maybe, a half hour later, a breeze comes through and pushes the door, to a cracked opening. So that's the answer for the front door. trying to think of all these reasons. And, it sounds like carbon monoxide poisoning to me. Now, the car is probably in the garage not running now because it ran itself out of gas because no one came by the house for a couple of weeks. The yard people came by, apparently every 2 weeks or every 10 days, whatever, every 2 weeks to clean up the yards and cut the grass and rake the leaves and, clean up the exterior gardening. I think they had a large sprawling house, maybe 8 or 10,000 square feet. He's a successful actor. A nice house. Anyway, so that's a huge. I think he, at least he had 3 children from the prior marriage, and I don't know what her situation is. I think I heard about that, and and the boys are like, 58 and 59, 57. When you're 95, your kids are 60. Jeez, oh boy. So he had some heirs, and of course they're, as everyone else is, highly interested in what the heck happened to him. Jeez. So that's all I can say about Gene Hackman. So the toxology report will come through. They'll be doing biopsies and what do you call it? Their autopsy, and there'll be a series of blood tests that they'll do on each of them to see. The toxicology will find out what was actually in their bloodstreams that caused their death. Because they weren't suffocated, because that would produce signs, like bursted eye vessels. There's definite signs of suffocation. Okay, that's different than just breathing in a gas like carbon monoxide. Odorless, tasteless. You can't smell it. It seeps through the walls. If you happen to have your car running in the garage with the garage door shut, the garage gets completely saturated with carbon monoxide because the engine, as it's trying to run, assuming a gas car, and if the car didn't shut itself down, then the monoxide seeps through the walls, through the attic. It's heavier than air, and it'll settle down through the ceiling, Excuse me while I have a sip of my warm tea with milk and sugar. Such a sissy. I just can't tolerate like black coffee. If I have coffee, I put 30% of, half and half in there to, to calm it down, and a teaspoon of sugar, of course. But warm tea, I'm still a bit of a sissy. I use less half and half, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and in a big, in a 15-ounce brew of fresh tea, in a 20-ounce cup, and I don't fill it all the way to the top, because I want to make room to put the top on, and it's a thick top, I'll show you. Ooh. See how thick this lid is? So I have to leave, 5/8 inch room. So that's 20 ounce. So I'm probably got an 18 ounce mixture of tea and half and half. Another sip. So tasty. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I asked my son-in-law, John Paul Jones, so I call him JPJ. I said to him, with everything that's going on with Trump and Doge, I browsed NIST's NIST. He works for the NIST. The National of Science and Technology. Yeah. It's a serious place. NIST. He's been there for years, like 12 years or something, if I had to guess. Maybe 15 years. Maybe 20 years. I don't know. But I went to NIST's NIST.gov. You can go there and look at it. It's an outstanding website. But it shows how NIST is so interconnected with all the other agencies in, formulating standards on how agencies are to operate. So I don't know how you do without NIST. They're between Doge and the government. Trump has basically said, look, managers, you look at your staffs and see if you can, cut back by 20% or so, so you do it, or we're going to come in and do it. It's going to happen. We have to cut back on the size of our government. It has grown too large. So we're asking you to tighten the belt. Anyway, so I wrote this text message. I browsed NIST's excellent website, which it is, showing all the interconnectivity and what services it provides to the other agencies. And the government's a big place. So you should have an organization like this that just keeps everybody, singing the same songs, and all kinds of, standards within, the operation of other agencies. It also, standardizes time and what kind of time you're going to use. And, it tracks the National Bureau of Standards on the time and makes sure all the government clocks are, in sync with each other, and make sure all the government websites and servers are using the proper time standard. It's all kinds of stuff you wouldn't even think about, but they do a lot of things. So I was, I looked at all the different what you can do. I suggest you do it. Go to NIST.gov and see everything that NIST does. Because we have a son-in-law in there in a management position. So I asked JP, how are you positioned with these efforts and to downsize, our government? And then I said, what are the 5 things you did this week? Because remember, Elon sent an email to everybody and email back what the 5 things you did last week, that justifies your worth. And he just said he And I went, haha, after that, because it's not funny, because these people, a lot of people in the government are okay. They've dedicated their life to, what the different agencies wanted or needed and so forth. And he wrote me back an epistle on what's going on. So I'm going to read that very carefully and answer back. So he says, you hear this is John Paul's response. I'm just giving you a summary of this one part of the big long text message he wrote back. He says, with all the, the stuff that's going on, he says, that's just what it's like to be in the Fed now, NIST is going to let go about 500 probationary employees. Mostly they work in the semiconductors and the AI, artificial intelligence area, because that was the newest expansion area in our agency. So a probationary employee, I was almost a government employee working for the FDIC. This is a long time ago, 30 years ago. I got an offer from the FDIC to take a management position it was like there's levels, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Well, I was offered a 14-7 position, which is not a management. The level 14 is the highest level you can. I didn't say no, I just hemmed and hawed sort of thing. A very lengthy conversation with the people there. This is after they invited me to go to their place in Dallas, which they did. They gave me a round-trip ticket, Tampa to Dallas, living in Tampa at the time, and spent, the whole day in the FDIC, and then got on an airplane and went home. Well, a week or 10 days later, I get an offer, from the entire director of the, they really wanted me. And they said, we're going to put you on the senior credit committee immediately. So that's a 3-member committee that everything that happens, in our region goes through the senior credit committee. You guys have to approve it, and there are 3 of you. And we thought it would be very important, since you've had developer experience and also banking experience. You got both. And what a great member of the senior credit committee than someone like that. So that when you examine these assets and how they're going to be disposed of, you would be an important vote on that committee. And it's 3 people, and it can be 2 to 1 or 3-0, or all 3 of you say no, or 1 of you say yes and 2 of you say no, which means no. There's no way to tie the vote, right? Because it's a 3-member committee. So you either lose, 3-0, or you lose, 2-1, or you get positive, 2 or 3, to take the recommendation from the people that sent you the submission in the FDIC. So you guys have to approve everything. Thumbs up or thumbs down on every single, asset or package of assets that the FDIC gets control over because, a bank closure or something like that. Yeah. So that's the positions that I was being offered. And, the Boca Bank made me an offer also. So I had two offers. I had Boca Bank, where I'd just be, the regular banker again. It was a troubled bank, so they had asset problems. But they're going to give me a free golf course. They're going to pay the $20,000 tuition, and I'd have a golf course membership. At the Broken Sound Golf Course, 2 courses, the East Course and the West Course. So that's the golf membership swung me over. As I think back on it, stupid. I should have taken the government job, because I'd have been a nice government employee. I'd be probably retired right now with the government pension or whatever the hell the government gives you. Oh boy. But no, I had to go to Boca Bank. So I lasted about 3 years there, and the bank got into really serious. I was classifying these assets like crazy, and of course, the board of directors was. I should have taken the job and said I have to be on the board, because that way I would have explained to the board everything that I was doing, instead of having someone else explain it for me, which they probably didn't do a good job at. So a mistake on my part. I should have accepted the position and on the board of directors, not some subcommittee. So that way you got a board member that's also the senior lender, so that I can fully inform the board on what's going on at my election, not the board's election. If you're not on the board of directors, then they can call me in and I can explain stuff. But if they don't call me in, someone else is going to explain it for me. Like the CEO of the bank or the president of the bank. So move over, guys. Going to be one more on the board. I should have insisted on that. I don't know whether they would have taken me up on that, but that's what I would explain it to, because I knew Arthur Bellis, and I got to know him well because I had a number of conversations with him a couple of years ago, and then this was like a repeat. They weren't ready to hire me at that point. Weren't quite big enough, and so they had someone else in there. That was fine. It turned out that guy was not capable of doing the job. So then I met with Arthur, and they decided to hire me. And that came up exactly the same time, the same week that this FDIC thing popped up. I filled out an application like a couple of years ago, and they flew me to Atlanta, and I met with the head guy in Atlanta, and had lunch with like 4 people, and this guy that led the Atlanta group, which is a big government FDIC office, region, I guess you call it. So I'm having lunch with the regional head, and we're talking, and his, junior guy and one other guy. So it's 3 of them and 1 of me. And we're having a lunch, and we were like, got to know each other pretty well, and I'm yakking away, and he's so the head guy is, we're like talking back and forth, and his secretary keeps coming in, and telling him about these other appointments that he has, which he is, this lunch was supposed to be like 45 minutes and turned out to be 2.5 hours. So every half hour, his secretary would come in and remind him of the next appointment that he missed and so forth. So one time, she came back after the third one. She said, he said, "I'll let you know when I'm done with lunch." Stop interrupting me. And so he put his phone on the table, and we kept on talking. So a 45-hour appointment became 2.5 hours. So it was like 3 times longer than he expected. But it was a good meeting. They didn't hire me. Nothing happened. They didn't say no, they didn't say yes, they didn't do anything. I don't know what the hell they did, but, they had real tight budgets in the government, this and that. And they pay well, but they don't take everybody. They're very selective, I must say. Anyway, so apparently he and his counterpart in the Dallas market were talking, and they said, so he said to her, because they needed somebody exactly like what I have in my resume thingy, and I filled out the FS 171 form, which is like a government form of a resume. You can also attach your resume as you write it, but they have their own. You got to fill out their whole form, and they ask you a bunch of questions. And the FBI investigates you. I mean, it's when you get hired into a management position in the United States government, they check you up and down. I mean, it's not just a background check. The FBI actually checks and calls all your references and investigates the references. I mean, God, it's like, yeah. And they explain that to you. And they say, you're going to, in your opinion, do you think you'll survive an FBI investigation? And I said, yeah, I think I will. I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything wrong that I'm aware of. Yeah, there's no felonies in my background, no. And I haven't been arrested or anything, so I'm pretty vanilla when it comes to that. So go ahead, investigate. It is startling what they say to you, and what the FS 171 explains. But when you hear it and they're talking right in your face, and they say the FBI will be investigating you, do you think you'll stand up to the, I said, well, if you've done nothing wrong, and you haven't been arrested by anybody, not even a speeding ticket, I don't, they can investigate away. I don't know what they're going to find. I'm not a foreign agent. So I don't know, so have at it. Yeah, you'll be fine. You won't be wasting your money. No surprises. Whew. But it is, Anyway, so my son-in-law is saying that NIST is going to let go 500 probationary employees. So I was going to back and tell you what probationary means. So even in my case, when I was being hired by the FDIC into a senior management position, you're on probation for 1 year. In other words, they can get rid of you for any reason they want, anywhere in the first year of your employment as a government employee. That's what the probationary employees are. It's anybody that the agency, like NIST, for example, hired, count back 12 months, and all those people that you hired are probationary, and you're gonna let go of all the probationaries. So all the recent hires, they're gone. Okay. So that's, all those salaries and all those benefit packages and everything that go along with it, insurance, and it's a full deal when you get hired by the government. Even though they are selective and they keep getting bigger and bigger, just because, everybody wants to do a good job and they want to, expand their departments and, so they're not in control of deficits and all this. They're led by their superiors, and those superiors are led by so it's only every 100 years that you get somebody like Trump that's willing to, turn everything upside down, because the government, we take in $5 trillion in income, but we're spending $7 trillion with all these people all over the place. So we got to shrink government, to bring down. We got to find $2 trillion somewhere. We got to find $2 trillion, because we're out of balance by $2 trillion every year. Oof. So, our deficit right now is like $34 trillion. Wow. And if you get to 36, 38, when you get to 40 trillion, it gets to the point where, you're going to, oops, what's going on here? I lost my connection with my video display. Let's double click that little sucker. Unplug this one. Yeah, so this is, let's bang, bang. This is it right here. I was fooling with the plug. Sorry. Diddling with the plug, and apparently the system went, there we go. There's our friend. Boy, he played really interesting roles. He was a tough guy. If they needed a tough guy, he was it. Yeah. All right. So NIST has 500 probationaries, so they're gone. But the firing process got paused last week because of a court ruling. So he's not sure what's going to happen with them, depending on what happens with that court thing. I'm kind of reading his message here as I'm. So in the text, I said, "What are the 5 things you did last week?" Elon says it wasn't really an aptitude test kind of a thing. It was, it was just a pulse thing. Come back to me with the email so I know that you're alive. And if if you got a couple of neurons, so at least I know that the paychecks are going out to someone that can actually respond with a text message or an email. So I, jokingly said, "What were the 5 things you did last week?" And he says, "I did my 5 accomplishments." He says it was an easy ask, and I sent them to my boss, and my staff sent me theirs as well as, which is directed to do. So it's definitely interesting. I just hope they slash what they need to do quickly so that, those that are left can rebuild the new NIST and not worrying about people looking over your shoulder with pink slips all the time. So we take it one day at a time. Looking forward to retirement in 10 to 12 years. I'm 50. Wow. And I have 20 years. All right. That was a good guess. He says, I'm 50 now and have 20 years of service. So if I get sacked, it'd be the end of the world. Oh, but yeah. Jeez. Well, he's been there 20 years, so he should be up the, pretty high up on the pecking order. And they kind of cut from the bottom up. They don't take the biggest salaries or that kind of thing. Now, I'm sure if there's someone that's in management that's a dud, whoosh, this is the time you can get rid of them because you're having to shrink your whole agency, by 20 or 30% or whatever the heck percentage they're going after. But it saves billions. It's amazing. So instead of growing 7%, they're going to cut it 20% or 25%. They got to find a couple of $1 trillion. And I think they're looking for $1 trillion in these cutbacks. And then the other $1 trillion they're going to get by, not sending money, not sending $50 million to Afghanistan, sending $50 million of prophylactics. Really? That's really what we're, and $25 million to train, Yugoslavians to do X, Y. If you read the things that Doge is finding out, it's frightening. It's this money. It's like Elon thinks he can find a 800-900 billion, maybe $1 trillion, in just this crazy stuff that's being sent out. It's like we have a leak. It's and it's not a matter. You have to dig deep because every way you turn, there's some crazy stuff that some of these agencies are doing. Of course, they're going to knock out the education, the DOE, Department of Education, and the Trump team has hired, and they've been confirmed, this lady that's going to run the DOE, Department of Education, and her job is to shut it down. Your job is to, is to shrink this department in its entirety. So instead of sending, so let's say they collect $1, and $1 is allocated to the DOE. And then they're going to look at the money, and then they're going to give support and send them, each state, money to support their education of their students in their state. You got 50 states, right? So what happens is, because of all the staff they have in Washington, in the Department of Education, which is supposed to occupy 4 or 5 buildings, in the Washington D.C. area. Literally several big buildings full of DOE people. We're going to get rid of all of them, or 99% of them, and that way, instead of sending them 75 cents, because it's not 75 cents. It would be, like 65 cents, because 35 cents of every dollar is chewed up with the salaries of all these DOE people. So this way, 99% of the money that's allocated for education is going to go to the states. And they know how to spend that money better than people in Washington. Now, they did the best they could in questioning each state to send them the right amount of money and recommendations on what they should do with it. So now each state is going to be autonomous, which is the way it should be. We're supposed to be a federal republic of states. right? Oops, okay, good. I was just taking a look at these people, and you can't tell whether it's robocalling is what it is. And each of these Apple devices, taking a little turn here in the conversation, has a cellular chipset inside. If you paid the extra $130, oops, that's why they call it a boom mic, because if you touch it, it goes boom. Sorry, I tried not to boom it. Anyway, so there you go. There's the new Apple device. Anyway, so 35 cents of every dollar that goes to the government that's supposed to go to the states, 35 cents of every dollar is chewed up with the administration of stuff that's going on in Washington. So, if the government intended to give the states $1, they don't get $1, they only get 65 cents. Because 35 cents of every dollar is chewed up with all the buildings, the rents, the air conditioning, the heating, and the payroll of all these employees that are churning, they're doing things, and they turn around and send the money to the states. So we're just going to send the money to the states and bypass all this stuff, this education department in the government. We are a federal republic of states, but the states are supposed to be doing stuff and being, somewhat autonomous within certain guidelines, within strict guidelines. But we are a federal republic of states, and the government our Constitution is written. I have a copy of the Constitution right here. I have. Everybody that I talk and meet has a copy of the Constitution because I hand it to them. Yeah. Eesh. So, a federal republic of states means, and so what's the purpose of the Constitution is written to make sure the government doesn't get too big. Because the government works for you. You don't work for the government. The people that are in the government, they think they're superior and they run everything. No. Whatever they do, their client is the public. That's how it works. You satisfy your client, or the client goes somewhere else, or they get rid of you. Because. And that's what's happening now. They're trying to shrink government because it gets too big and too ominous. So everyone's going to cut back. Every agency has basically been instructed, cut back your force or we'll do it for you. That's your choices. There's no choice that says, you're exempt. Now, the State Department and the Department of the Defense Department under Pete Hegseth, they'll be cutting back their own departments. Okay, the DOJ isn't going to do it for them, but DOJ is going to examine contracts and make sure that the Defense Department, when they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, let's say, this is totally hypothetical, okay, and I'm just going to make up stories. The Defense Department, has a lot of airplanes, because you have the Air Force, right, and they got all kinds of jet airplanes. They've got drones. And a lot of this aircraft, whether it's, manned pilot or whether it's remote control pilot, in a trailer in Arizona, they've got all these drones. And you got these drone operators that are in a trailer kind of a thing. And you got all these trailers set up with these drone operators, which are experienced pilots, and they know how to control the stick and all this stuff to make the drone go faster and slower and turn left, turn right. And, and the autopilot will take it to, and you get to a certain position, and then you can launch your weapon, which can go maybe 25 or 30 miles ahead of you once you trigger it. And it's, radar controlled. So anyway, that kind of stuff's going on. And so the officials in the Defense Department, this is the hypothetical part now, the officials in the Defense Department, get real friendly with the officials of, let's say, Raytheon. Raytheon builds unbelievably good missile systems, okay? And accordingly, let me turn this down a little bit more. There we go. Accordingly, so you got a government official, and he gets real chummy with the Raytheon official, okay? And so they place an order for, 1,000, JDAMs. Remember, I'm making all this up. And they cost $35,000 each. So when you multiply 35,000 times, I'll do it on my trusty calculator over here, which is now in my iPad. So let's take 35,000. That's one of these JDAM missiles that they can fire and kill a tank or kill 100 people, civilians, military, whatever. So 35,000, and let's say they order 1,000 of them, so times 1,000 equals, that's 35 million. Okay, so if a missile costs 35,000 and you want 1,000 of them, that means it's a $35 million contract just for those JDAMs that we need in supply, because we've given out all these missiles to, Israel and what do you call it? The war that's going on right now, the Ukrainian war. So we're not supplying any troops, so none of our guys are laying dead in the killing fields of this Ukrainian war, which is being fought mightily, by was thought a de minimis force, and Putin is having a rough time trying to take over Ukraine, and this is 3 years of battle between one country and one huge communist country controlled by Putin. So that's the mix of what's going on. Anyway, so you have officials so now the official in the Defense Department and the officials, the very senior officials, in Raytheon that are manufacturing these missiles, highly sophisticated, laser-guided, GPS-guided missile systems. I mean, you can fly those suckers in a window, from 35 miles away. Very accurate targeting because of the missile has its own guidance system, inside of it. That's why they cost $35,000 a piece. It's a lot of these numbers are, maybe 1/10 of what they really are. it could be 3.5 million per missile. That's probably a better. Let's do that. Clear that. 35 million. Is that it? Yep. 35. That's 35 million times 1,000 equals. Ugh. That's 3.5 billion. With a B. Woo. So anyway, that Raytheon guy's an important people. And of course, the key person in the Defense Department, is filling these orders. As the generals, the senior generals in the Defense Department start reordering this stuff because we're, supplying, 2 wars that are going on. We're not part of the war. We're just supplying them stuff, expensive stuff. And it's not like a bucket of bullets. It's all this fancy schmancy missile stuff, surface-to-air missiles and air-to-ground missiles and bombs. And, these bombs are $50,000 a piece, very high explosives. So it's very intense manufacturing procedure, to build a bomb or to build a missile, because they're loaded with explosives which are dangerous. And of course, the companies that make these things charge a premium to assemble and build these things that can go boom. Because if they're not careful, they blow up part of the Raytheon factory, and a number of engineers and so forth get taken out because someone did the wrong thing in the factory. Didn't follow a procedure, and it went boom. And when it goes boom, people die. So that's why it's 3.5 million per missile. And the technology itself is, not a giveaway. Expensive. So those two fellas, one at Raytheon and one in the U.S. government, become chummy. And then all of us, because they filled all these orders for years, 20 years of conflict around the planet. Raytheon makes a lot of stuff for the U.S. government and the Defense Department specifically. So there are some key people, obviously, under Pete Segthef's ruling, because now he's the SecDev. He's the Secretary of Defense. And all 5, you got Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and Space. Don't forget the Space Agency of the Department of Defense. You got the Air Force, and you got Space. Trump set up Space in his last presidency. I remember him. They got a flag. They made a flag. They put it in a stanchion, in his office. You got the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine flags, and they added the Space Agency with its flag. Yeah, it's in charge of all the satellites and, the satellite communications, the satellite, maybe there are weapons in satellites that can shoot other satellites or, laser them or something. You can be sure that's just going on. Anyway, so the Raytheon guy knows the guy in the Defense Department. So the Raytheon, continue on this story. Taking a long time to get where I'm talking about. So now the Raytheon company is saying, oh boy, you all need to go to your, because they make they make their stuff for, a lot of different governments, not just the U.S. government. Not bad guys, people, the presidents of other countries would go to Raytheon, say, hey, I need this and I need that. So they'd make their own deal with Raytheon and get direct shipments from Raytheon to, Brazil, for example. Remember, this is all hypothetical. So the Raytheon CEO goes to all their salespeople in the Raytheon company and says, hey, you need to churn all these clients because our earnings are down. Our missile sales is, we expected a 20% growth. We only got 8% growth. So go back to all your counterparts within the governments that you're dealing with, one guy's assigned the United States contracts, another one. And then you got another person that's in charge of South American contracts, including Brazil. So you get chummy with your agents back and forth, and now the agent comes to the Defense Department and says, hey, you need to order up, another 1,000 of these missiles because, our Raytheon is under pressure from its shareholders to do more and do better. So, why don't you go up your chain of command and take another 1,000 missiles off our hands because we got a warehouse full of these suckers. So you think you could take a few more? So that's what happens. Raytheon then comes back to the U.S. government to try and encourage it to buy more missiles. And that's happening because, the Raytheon company is in tight with the guy in the U.S. government, and now the pressure is going back up the line to the source. Hey, you sure you can't take a few more missiles? So he floats around with the rest of the people in the, the Defense Department. And finally, it raises that up to SecDev security, the SecDev's office. SecDev, the Secretary of Defense's office. Because remember, Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense. Okay. The abbreviation is SecDev in the military speak. Well, go to SecDev and see if we can do that. So that's what happens. Raytheon is now pushing back on the U.S. government saying, hey, we need you to take another 1,000 missiles. You think you can figure that out? So it raises up to SecDev's office, and Peter says, all right, we'll take 500. So that goes back to Raytheon and says, okay, we'll make you 500. Well, so that's 1.75 billion, right? Because 1,000 of them was 3.5 billion. So if I divide that by 2, because SecDev says, hey, cut that order in half and let's have it happen. That's $1.75 billion contract. When you add up these billions, it turns out to be serious money. Because you can find, 100 more things like this that's going on. That's the $1 trillion we're looking for. That's exactly what they're talking about. Come on, guys. So that's what DOGE is doing. They're going back through all these agencies and try to find ways that they can do what they do, but just do less of it. By about 20 or 30%. And still live within what we need to operate all the different things that we do. Yeah, So they're certainly not going to eliminate the Secretary of Defense, the Defense Department, which the Pentagon has 35,000 people working in the Pentagon in that one big building. 35,000. That's a whole frickin' city. They have their own zip code, for God's sakes. Oh, Lord. They probably have 3 zip codes. Or maybe 5 zip codes, because it's a pentagon. 5-sided thing. Octagon, 8-sided. Pentagon, 5 sides, I believe. If you look at the aerial photograph. Yeah. So that's what Doge is doing. They're trying to have it so that their orders are necessary to fill what we, So a lot of times, when the Defense Department starts unloading some of their warehouses, because they have warehouses all over the planet storing these weapons, so they're in close proximity to any potential explosion. I'm talking about the explosion of people, fighting against each other, and then we have to go pick a side and try and calm it down. So you may need some weapons to encourage them to calm down. I don't know how else to say it. That's what's going on. Elon Musk is not taking over anything. He is discovering things. He's got like 100 people working with him. Now they get paid and all that kind of stuff. But they got 100 of these brainiacs that he's brought in from his, he probably swiped them out of, he probably took 50 of them out of SpaceX and, 60 out of SpaceX and 40 out of Tesla, and recent hires or whatever, and reassigned them under Elon Musk's world of influence, because he's a technology company. Period. He's a robotics company. Tesla has wheels on it. And SpaceX has missiles. And now Tesla is going to start making humanoid robots. He's making them right now. Thousands of them. To operate, the human jobs that are so monotonous, they can't keep people employed to do some of these monotonous chores. But they got to get done, So, just looking at a chart of up here, Bitcoin, is Bitcoin right now is trading at 83,800 per coin. I remember when it was $200 a coin. Wasn't that long ago. It was like 6-7 years ago. Oh, jeez. I was driving. I worked for Uber for a while. A little sidebar here. And I started work. I was actually driving for Uber. So when you call for an Uber ride, it could be Jimmy that shows up in his Tesla. Or I was driving I think a Honda Accord. Nice car. And then we switched to Tesla. So then Paul Berkowitz, who owned a salon out west, I rode him several times as an Uber person. And then I said, he said to me, he said, why don't we just make a deal? I want you every morning at 8:10 because I want to get there before 9. I want to get there at 8:45, so I'm 15 minutes before everyone else gets there. And that way I can open up the store, this salon, and start up all the computers and get everything warmed up, and so that when the people come in, they don't have to do it and waste, 15 or 20 minutes of their life. So I'll do it and save money because the people won't have to do it. Because I can just walk around, turn on all the computers, and get them all, so they go through the startup period. And, yeah, get that. So while I'm driving Paul Berkowitz around, he says, why don't we make a deal and you just drive me every day? And it could be maybe Saturdays, but generally it's Monday through Friday. Just be at my front door at 8:15 every day. And I said, fine, we'll just do that. We'll just do that out of, it's just between you and me. I won't turn on Uber. I won't be an Uber driver. For you every day, I'll be your personal chauffeur to wherever you want to go. And I'll be at your door at 8:15 every single day, unless you call me off because you're sick or something else. You want me to take you to the doctor's office, dentist, I'll do that. Sometimes I pick them up at the dentist office, at 10, and then take him to his Salon Bleu. It was called Salon Bleu. Out west Glades Road. In the strip center before the, if I remember correctly, before you get to 441. But it's way out there. But it's in the strip, not in, like the mall area where Home Depot is. It's in the center that's like next to the Home Depot center. Something like that. Anyway, so that's what I did. I rode him around for 7 years. Can you believe it? Every single day I drove him for 7. I mean, we knew each other pretty good because, he's sitting in the back seat, I'm driving, and we get to talking about something, and of course, I talk. I've been talking here for 1 hour and 29 minutes, according to my trusty clock here that, yeah, which you can't see so much because this boom thing's right in the way of that clock. That's okay. This phone keeps wanting to know if, let's see if I can add this to the queue. So I'll probably regret this. Camera, here we go. And I'll click on, I guess, FaceTime camera? Or camera B? Oh, here, wait. It would be, this one here. Right here. So it says all cameras. There should be a third one there. Maybe I clicked the wrong one. Hold on a second now. Don't get off on no tangerine. That's iPad Pro. And all right, let's try this one then. All right, I have the camera on. And let's see if I can bring it into this. It can, excuse me, it can connect to this sound. I don't know. It's not coming in. All right. Well, I've given you a try, and we'll cancel this project. Now it's, come up. Now I'll put this down and it'll come up. There we go. Wow. Anyway, when I was driving Paul Berkowitz, he was saying, "Oh yeah, one of my hairdressers is buying this Bitcoin, and it was like $250 a coin." Okay, and he just bought 10 coins, sir. Couple $1,000. 10 coins. Now, there's a big sell-off in Bitcoins for some reason or other, but it's 80,000, not 250. I said, well, I don't want to. And I could have done it, and I didn't. I could have bought $2,000 or $3,000 worth of Bitcoins. I'd have had 15 coins. Well, guess what? Let's do a little fast math. You want to get mad at yourself. 15 times 85,000. Forget the 100,000. This dude is selling off 85,000. What's that? 1.2 million. Yep. And 15 times $250 is $3,700. So if you had $4,000 today in a sell-off, it's worth 1.2 million, 1.3 million. It's bouncing back and forth with that. And you'd have had $3,000 invested. How about that for return? And this is like 7 years ago. So it's not ancient history, because I drove. I remember driving Paul Berkowitz, and he's sitting in the back. I can see him in the mirror. I look up and look at the mirror like a taxi driver. Uber's magical, huh? But I got to know this guy, and I basically stopped signing on to Uber, and we just had a deal between ourselves. Uber doesn't like that, but tough crap. I could. They take 20% of everything that I do. Including tips or whatever. It's 80-20. So I can give you a 20% discount, and you just pay me directly, and we'll forget Uber. I wouldn't even turn it on. I know where your place is. I don't need instructions. And you don't need to worry about a ride, because every day I'll be at your front door, and if you're sick or you don't want to go to work that day and don't need a ride, just send me a text message, 15 minutes, call me off by, 8 o'clock. Because at 8 o'clock, I'm going to go get my car and head to your front door, so I can be there at 8:15. So you can get to your salon by half hour after that. So if you're going to call me off at 8 o'clock, and then I wouldn't have gotten to my car yet. Let's not waste each other's time. So if you don't mind, if you're going to call me off at 8 o'clock. If you don't call me off by 8 o'clock, I'm going to be at your front door at 8:15. And if you forget, You forget, so then you'll have to call me off when I'm sitting in front of your door. I'd rather you call me off at 8 o'clock or 7:30 or 7:45 or the night before. So just send me a text message. You don't have to call. Anyway, so that was our arrangement. And every day I took him to Salon Bleu. 5 days a week. A month. We started doing monthly deals. You know, he said, I'll give you the first of every month, and whoosh, you give me a ride for the whole month. So he'd give me $100 and something, and it'd be a month. You know, 20 or whatever the heck it is, you know. Pay me a week in advance for the whole week. Every once in a while he wouldn't go, so then that would carry over to the next week, and you'd only have to pay 4 days into the next week. So I keep track of that. You know, it's not that complicated. Not exactly rocket science. I can do it. I did it. Bitcoin was $250 a coin when I was doing that because we were talking about it. And he was telling me about his and his guy's making a fortune. Just, you know, between $2 a coin and $200 a coin. You know, I mean, that Bitcoin stuff started at really low numbers. Oh, boy. He says, oh, yeah, that's going to go to $1,000 a coin. Yeah. Give me all that stuff. And anyway. So people that bought into Bitcoin early became what you would say millionaires and billionaires. You know, people that jumped into that, and the coin goes to $1,000. You know, $100,000 a coin. When you bought it at $200 a coin, ugh. If you put $10,000 in that, you know, oh God. All right, let's just play. Let's just do the math. Let's just take $10,000, which is, 10, 10,000. Okay, and I'm going to divide that by, let's say, $300 a coin. That's 33 coins. Okay? So, if you invested $10,000 at Bitcoin, you'd have had 33 coins when it was $300 a piece. Now, we're going to multiply that by 85,000 to see what that portfolio is worth. $2.8 million. 10,000 became 2.8 million. And this is a sell-off number. If I took those 33 coins, 33 and a third coins, and you can buy partial coins, times, it was 120,000. Wow. Equals 4 million. $10,000 investment becomes 4 million. You sell 3 million of it, and you got 3 million in cash, in crypto cash, which you don't have to transfer to your banks and pay taxes on it. The IRS is trying to keep track of that, but they haven't. They're just now figuring out how to do it. This is 7 years ago. Not trackable by the IRS. Anyway, so 4 million becomes 3 million because the government's going to take $1 million of it. It's still 3 million. Pay taxes on it. Why run around illegal? Or put $1 million in the side pocket, so in case they start muscling everybody into paying so then you pay the tax. So you take $1 million of the $4 million, put it in the side pocket, just don't touch it. Or invest it in treasury bills. And it'll grow 6% a year, because you're not going to touch it because that's the tax money. Yeah, the tax man decides that crypto capital gains is taxable. It's not even in the code. Bitcoin didn't exist, 10, 15 years ago, so it wouldn't be in the tax code. Well, they figured it out, and there are a lot of billionaires that haven't paid any taxes on those earnings. So they're getting smarter and smarter. Yeah. God. Here we are. It's Friday. It's going to be, where's my clock? You see it right there? 10:30, 10:59, 43, 44, 45. Now that is the exact time. The Eastern time right now is almost 11 a.m. Bam! It's 11 o'clock. My computer just told me it's 11 o'clock. Yep. So I've got a meter here that tells me that we're live for 1 hour and 42 minutes. And this is a live recording. It's streaming to 3, not 1, but 3 social networks simultaneously. It's going to Facebook Live under the @ at FAU4U. FAU, the number 4, and then the letter U. FAU4U. That is my handle on YouTube Live also, at FAU4U. So all the 3 networks, FAU4U. So, to keep it simple, go to YouTube. All right, if you're a YouTube person, and you can look up, you can find my broadcasts by going to FAU4U. And I don't know if you have to ask to be a friend, but if you do, I'll friend you. That's what you got to do with Facebook. But I think with YouTube, you can listen to my podcast, which is basically done every day. I've done, 450 of these in the last 2 or 3 years. And, I talk about whatever everybody's talking about. So, and, I need someone to talk to. Apple, $237 a share. Marginally up today. The 10-year Treasury is down to 4.25%, 4.25%. So a friend of mine is trying to refinance his condo on the beach. This is a doctor friend of mine. I sat on the board with him for 11 years. Dr. Gene. And he wants to refinance a condo on the beach. So, of course, I refer that to my wife, who's manager of, Seacoast Bank. They have a mortgage department. I says, Marilyn, get this done. He's a good friend of ours. He takes care of all my cancer spots. So, in your early days, you're a sun god, and now today you're a patient with your dermatologist friend. So A couple of years ago, we found a little spot right in the middle of my neck, right where the bones are, or the bones aren't, and you can push in there to the lowest part of your neck, where you're not hitting any bone. It's the top of that cartilage, the middle of your chest bones, whatever they call those. And it was a little spot. I was going to see him because it's time to go see I see him every 6 months or 9 months or every year or whatever. And so I had one of these diagrams line, of a person. The head and then the shoulders, the arms, and then it comes down with your torso, and then you got leg, left and right leg, and a weenie in the middle. So it's like a line drawing of the silhouette of a person, like you'd see in a crime lab. So I printed out a couple of these pages. I'll have to go find one and do it because I got to go see him again. I got some things that look like they need to be biopsied. Anyway, so I had this line drawing, and I put spots on it corresponding to where I had spots on my body. So when I go see him, I say, hey, look at this one. Look at that one. Look at that one. Look at that. So he'd look at all. He says, I'm not. So I had 8 of them at the time. So he went through, here's the spot on my wrist right there. What about that? He says, no, that doesn't interest me. No, that one doesn't interest me. And then I said, okay, how about this one right here? He said, no, that doesn't. That was how he'd answer. He said, that doesn't interest me. I said, this is the last one. How about this one? He said, this one, I'm interested in this one. That's exactly how he would say, yeah, I'm interested in that one. And he says, okay, I think we're going to, so you come back, this is like Monday, come back Thursday, and we'll snip this off. We'll schedule you for a surgery visit. I can't, the room is not sterile. So on Thursdays, we go into the surgery room. Tuesdays and Thursdays are surgery days. And Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are the days when we see all of you folks. I said, okay. So come back Thursday. We'll fit you in because I'm interested in that one. We need to find out what that is. So he said, I'm 95% sure that's something that's got to go. So he snips it off on Thursday. He said, I'm going to rush this to the lab because I'm afraid this is something we have to pay attention to right away. He says, so I'm going to send it off to the lab under emergency super fast response. So anytime a doctor does that, the lab goes right after it and stops doing work on other, this is a laboratory, a bunch of laboratory people that look into microscopes. They look through a microscope at your sample. They'll slice off they have machines that they slice them almost like you're cutting an onion. And they'll take a slice and they'll put it on, a microscope slide, which is a piece of glass. And then they put a piece of glass on top of that, like a sandwich, where the sample is between 2 slides. Very thin glass slides. And then they put that down, and then they put, like paper ends on it so the slides is intact. And they put a number on it, so it corresponds to this sample number. You have to keep track of all this because they got samples coming from all over the place. So a lab technician then looks at this slide and he writes back, this is a squamous cell carcinoma. This is a squamous cell carcinoma. What do you think about that? So that report comes back to my Dr. Gene really fast. And Gene calls me on the phone, you got to get in here. We got to take the rest of this off. So come in Monday or Tuesday. Remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays are surgery days. So come in Tuesday. We'll fit you in. And we're all booked up, but we'll take you because we have to get this off. So then he comes in and he takes it off, and then, the spot was like a dot. Like you take your pen and just put a dot on a piece of paper. I mean, it was a little small thing. It looked like it was red. I should have taken a picture of it with my iPhone, So no, that's trouble. You get any more things that look like that. And so he took it off, and I was doing something else with him, like a week later. And he calls me, or he talks to me. He's standing next to me, and he takes a phone call from his office. And they say, well, make sure you tell, I know you're with Jim Wilson right now. Let him know that the squamous cell carcinoma has been properly removed, and it has not metastasized, which means that it hasn't started to spread throughout the rest of your body, and then you're a friggin' dead duck. It gets in the bloodstream and it goes into all your organs, and your cancer starts growing everywhere. And and I remember Dr. Gene telling me that if we didn't take this off, this is like in May, you would not see Thanksgiving, because in 5 months you'd be a dead duck. And you'd have to square away your family responsibilities because you're going to be gone. So get out all your passwords. If you got diamonds hidden under, in the refrigerator somewhere, make sure you let them know where it is so they don't throw it out. Oh boy. Settle up your affairs. He said, yeah, 4 or 5 months you'd be gone. If we didn't take this off, that'd be the end of Jimmy. I said, oh, my God. So this not metastasized is a follow-up report that they did. Because they take out a peripheral, the thing was like a dot on a piece of paper, and he took out a piece of my neck the size of a quarter, and then sewed it up. So he cut out a quarter, sent that in a sample thing back to the lab, and then they examined the peripheral all the way around the edges of that piece of meat they took out of my neck. And then they just squeeze the skin together and sew it up. Oh, jeez. Yeah. But Dr. Gene is good, and he sews it up. And if you look at my neck, you could not see that he had taken anything out of there. It's not visible. All right. What's this guy telling me? I have an Instacart, which you can't see on the screen. Let me turn the brightness down so you can see what's going on here. I got all kinds of things going on. I'm going to approve that. There you go. I have an Instacart order of 23 items, and it's supposed to be delivered to me somewhere between noon and 2 o'clock. So he's shopping now, which means I'll get it sooner rather than later because I've got some ice cream in there. Yeah. He's still shopping for 12 items. All right. He's got these items done. Wow. Pretty interesting. Reese's Pieces. He got my he's got my onions. He's got my 2-for-1 watermelons. some stuff that Marilyn wanted. It's nice. She like started the order yesterday, and I finished it today, and got it sent in. Yeah, Instacart. So I sent this Instacart in at like at 8 o'clock in the morning. Whoops, got something else. And they send you your scheduled orders between 12 and 2. Okay. So what now? What? Yeah. 16 of 27 items have been shopped. And Yusuf, Y-U-S-U-F, he's been with, what do you call it, Instacart for 3 years. And he's delivered, produced, shopped, 4,534 orders. He is a diamond shopper, whatever that means. Anyway, so I'm going to look over these 27 items. You can see it over here. Yeah. Can I do it on this one? Yes, I can. Uh-oh. No. I know. Just refund the item. No with you. Yeah. No chocolate chip cookies. I want oatmeal raisin. They don't have them? Forget that part of the order. Yeah. So you can see it right on the screen here, listen. You want to see what else I got? Ricola cough drops. Oh, they're amazing. Yeah, all natural stuff from like Sweden or somewhere. Oops. Get back here. Yeah, so. Still shopping for. So he's found these things. Assorted chocolates. Marilyn loves those. Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, one of those. 2 of these Hidden River Select Honey Bell Blend. Daniel likes those when he comes over. Makes a vodka and orange juice. Mostly vodka soda. Adds a little orange juice for flavoring. He's got my 2 spaghettis, Reese's Pieces. We're a little chocolate crazy, as you can see. I got another can of tomatoes because I'm ready to do a new tomato sauce. Yeah, I've already answered that one. Okay, so he's got my popcorn. My popcorn popper I cleaned up like crazy. Replaced the kettle because the kettle was like, forget it, it had oil on oil, you know. When you make popcorn, you got to clean it up every time, or else it builds up with a lot of burnt oil. So you got to wipe them off every time you use them. The new kettle was not expensive. So this white popcorn, this Orville Redenbacher's original gourmet white popcorn. I'll tell you what, when that popcorn pops, it is white. And the shell is real tender. So, you know, when you chomp on it, you know, you don't have a lot of this husky stuff, you know, that gets stuck between your teeth or whatever. Boar's Head imported Switzerland Swiss cheese. Yep. And Publix Deli salami, pepper coated on the outside. Yep. That was on a discount. So instead of $5.49, it was $3.87. Saved a little money. And Marilyn got some Panera Bread chicken tortilla soup. Yep. And Marilyn got some Boursin spreadable cheese, gourmet, black truffle, and sea salt. Ugh. Sounds terrible to me. Panera Bread, you can see it there on this. Panera Bread beans, black bean soup, a cup of that. Okay. I would have never thought of that. And a 8-ounce bag of minute rice. Minute rice? Really? I don't know why she bought that. I have all kinds of rice. I got more rice than mine's got pickles. Anyway. So he tried to get me to take oatmeal chocolate chip. I said, refund it. If you can't get what I want, I don't want it. So you can press refund for that item. Refund pending. And they'll cross it off they'll take it out of your order. So instead of X, it'll be Y. Less $7.63. Tate's Bake Shop Oatmeal Raisin Cookies are spectacular. Yep. Look, he's just got 1 gallon. Yeah, he's got my 4 gallons of distilled water. He's got, it's a 1 liter bottles, 6 of them that are wrapped together. And it was 2 for 1. So I got 12 of those for $17 instead of $34. So that's a big savings on there. Yeah. I've got lots of water. So otherwise I would have bought, 4 more of those, but I'll just stick with what I could change the order now, but I'm not gonna. Okay, he got the Publix half and half. He's got my ice cream sandwiches in there. That was also 2 for 1. So I have to find room in the freezer. 1 Peroxyl mouthwash. It's a great thing if you want to, just as something to wash your mouth out, at night before you go to bed and in the morning when you wake up, just so your breath you don't have gorilla breath. One time Marilyn started going out the door, give me all, because I said, Marilyn, go back and gurgle a load of that mouthwash, because otherwise you're going to knock out your people on the branch. You got gorilla breath. Only your friends will tell you that you have gorilla breath. Well, we've been married 45 years. I figured, whoops, don't go out the door yet. Go back and do a little mouthwash thingy. Yeah. She was in a hurry and didn't. I said, no, you got to go fix that one up. I'm hoping he finds my Liquid IV electrolyte drink mix. I don't know if people generally don't drink enough water. So, and pardon the expression, but if you urinate and it's yellow or dark yellow, particularly if it's a dark yellow, you're dehydrated. And you need to drink a lot of water to get your water balance right in your body. Because, all these things are important so all your organs work properly. And if you want to eliminate kidney stones, oops, I got a call from Marilyn. Let's see what she wants. Hello? 6.